Imagine this. A 14-year-old boy leaves home on a normal school morning. He puts on his uniform, says goodbye to his parents, and walks out the door. But instead of going to school, he goes to a train station, buys a one-way ticket to a major city, and vanishes without a trace. This isn't the plot of a movie. This is the true and baffling story of Andrew Gosden, a boy who walked out of his life one Friday morning and has never been seen since. What happened to him? Why did he leave? And how can a person simply disappear in a city of millions, leaving behind a mystery that has haunted his family and investigators for over a decade? It was the morning of September 14th, 2007, in Doncaster, a town in South Yorkshire, England. For the Gosden family, the day started like any other. 14-year-old Andrew, a bright and gifted student, woke up, got dressed in his school uniform, and left the house at the usual time, just after 8 a.m. His father, Kevin, remembers seeing him head down the road, expecting him to walk to the bus stop as he always did. Everything seemed perfectly normal. There were no arguments, no signs of distress, nothing out of the ordinary at all. But Andrew never got on that school bus. Instead, once out of his parents' sight, he did something completely unexpected. He went to a local park and waited. He waited until his parents had left for work, and then he walked back home. Quietly, he let himself back into the empty house. Once inside, he went up to his bedroom and changed out of his school uniform into his own clothes. A black slip-knot t-shirt, black jeans, and a pair of trainers. He then went into his room and took £200 in cash, money he had carefully saved up from birthdays and holidays. He put his wallet, keys, and his portable PlayStation in his bag, but he left behind his school blazer and tie neatly folded on a chair. He also left his PlayStation charger, a crucial detail for a boy who loved gaming. He didn't pack any extra clothes. He didn't leave a note. Then he locked the front door, walked out of his home for the second time that morning, and headed towards the Doncaster train station. At the station, Andrew approached the ticket counter. He asked for a one-way ticket to London. The ticket clerk, trying to be helpful, pointed out that a return ticket would only cost a little bit more. Andrew was firm. "No," he said, "I just want a one-way." This small interaction is one of the most chilling parts of the entire story. Why would a 14-year-old boy with no known plans in London insist on a one-way ticket if he ever intended to come back home? It suggests a level of finality, a decision made. He paid for his ticket in cash, and at 9:35 a.m. he boarded the train to London King's Cross. This journey, which he took completely alone, was the last time anyone who knew him would see him. The train pulled out of the station, carrying Andrew away from everything he had ever known and towards an unknown fate. A little under 2 hours later, at approximately 11:20 a.m., Andrew arrived at King's Cross Station in London. And this is where we get our last ghostly glimpse of him. Grainy CCTV footage from the station's main concourse captured him walking out of the station. He's by himself, carrying his bag over his shoulder. He doesn't look panicked or afraid. He isn't running. He isn't looking over his shoulder as if he's being followed. He just walks with a calm, steady pace, blending into the massive crowd of travelers moving through one of the world's busiest train stations. And then he walks out of the frame of the camera and into the vastness of London. And that's it. From that moment on, Andrew Gosden essentially ceased to exist. There was no more CCTV footage. His phone, which he had with him, was either turned off or ran out of battery and was never used again. The 200 pounds he took was all in cash, so there were no bank card transactions to trace. There have been no credible, confirmed sightings of him since that moment he walked out of King's Cross. It was as if he stepped off the train and simply vanished into thin air. When Andrew didn't return home from school that evening, his parents began to worry. They called his friends, but no one had seen him. They called the school, only to receive the shocking news that Andrew had been marked absent that day. Panic set in. The Gosdens reported their son missing, and a massive police investigation was launched. They retraced his steps, discovering his secret trip home, the changed clothes, the missing cash, and the one-way train ticket to London. The police released the CCTV footage from King's Cross, hoping someone would recognize the boy in the Slipknot shirt. The image was plastered on posters, on television, and eventually all over the internet. His face became one of the most recognizable in the history of missing persons cases in the UK. But despite the nationwide appeals, the leads went nowhere. The trail went cold almost immediately. So, who was Andrew Gosden? To understand this mystery, you have to understand the boy at its center. By all accounts, Andrew was an exceptional kid. He was a straight-A student, part of a program for gifted and talented children. He was quiet, a bit of a homebody, and very close to his family. He wasn't the kind of child to get into trouble. He loved reading, math, and was passionate about rock and metal music. His favorite bands were Slipknot, Muse, and Funeral for a Friend. He was also an avid gamer. His family described him as happy and content. There were no known issues at home, no arguments, no signs of abuse. His school confirmed there was no evidence of bullying. He had a small circle of friends and seemed perfectly well-adjusted. This is what makes his disappearance so deeply perplexing. There was no apparent trigger, no cry for help, no obvious reason for him to run away. He was a good kid from a loving home who for some unknown reason decided to orchestrate his own disappearance with chilling precision. Over the years, countless theories have been proposed, each trying to fill the void of information. The first and most obvious theory is that he ran away. But to where and why? He was a homebody who had reportedly never even been to London on his own before. He loved the comfort of his home and his family, and if he was planning to start a new life, why leave his charger behind? Another prominent theory is that he went to London to meet someone. Perhaps he was communicating with a stranger online, someone who had promised him something or lured him to the city. Investigators scoured his computer, but Andrew didn't seem to have any social media profiles, and there was no evidence of secret email accounts or chat logs. He did have an Xbox, but there was no hard drive to examine for online communications. Did he meet someone at a concert or a gig? His family wondered if he went to London for a specific event. They checked the listings for all the bands he loved, but there were no major concerts that day. Could he have gone to meet a relative he hadn't seen in a while? The family checked with everyone they could think of, but no one was expecting him. This leads to the darkest and most feared possibility, that Andrew was a naive and vulnerable teenager who fell victim to foul play shortly after arriving in London. The city can be a dangerous place, and a 14-year-old boy, alone and with cash in his pocket, could have been an easy target. Was he robbed? Abducted? Did he meet the wrong person by chance, someone who saw an opportunity and took it? This theory suggests that something catastrophic happened to Andrew within hours, or even minutes, of him stepping out of King's Cross Station. It's a heartbreaking thought for his family, but one that police have had to seriously consider. For years, the case remained stagnant, a painful open wound for his family. Then, in December 2021, there was a sudden, dramatic development. Police arrested 2 men on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking in connection with Andrew's disappearance. The news brought a surge of hope that answers might finally be on the horizon. The men's digital devices were seized and analyzed, but after months of investigation, both men were released without any charges. The flicker of hope was extinguished, and the case returned to its frustrating and silent state. Today, Andrew Gosden would be a man in his 30s. His parents, Kevin and Glennis, have never given up their search. They have spent years campaigning, giving interviews, and keeping his story alive in the public consciousness. Their home is a frozen in-time shrine to their son. His room is exactly as he left it on that September morning in 2007. They live with an unimaginable pain, a state of limbo, not knowing if their son is alive or dead, safe or suffering. They believe that someone, somewhere, holds the key. A person who saw him that day in London. A person he might have spoken to. A detail, no matter how small, that could finally unlock this devastating mystery. The disappearance of Andrew Gosden is more than just a cold case. It's a story about the hidden depths that can exist within even the quietest people, and the terrifying reality that a person can simply vanish from our modern, interconnected world. It is a reminder of a family's unending love, and a mystery that continues to ask the same haunting question: what happened to Andrew? If you have any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please contact the authorities. Someone out there knows something. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that need to be heard.